How can we make it run backwards, that taciturn white circle with its torpid black hands? We only touch the hands when standard time comes to shorten, or daylight savings to lengthen our days. That clock is lazy. I'd like to throw eggs at it, but I don't want it to go forward faster, as if it were drawn by death. Let it run gently backwards, pausing to greet happy times again, the day when the schoolboy wrote his first poem, the day when the first jonquil bloomed in his little garden, the day when his father tossed him into the lake without water wings to prove to him he could swim. En arrière, recuer, and in dietro, those are your orders, lazy clock, until the spring breaks, and it doesn't matter what you do any more. I remember the evening that Uncle Willie's bees swarmed in the neighborhood's yard high up in an old box elder tree. That gravid cluster hung, swelled with so many thousand bees it almost broke the branch, and Uncle Willie sent his boy Peter up the trunk with a garbage pail. But of course the pail fell, and the whole big cluster came down right on top of Uncle Willie's head. But he stood still, and never got a sting, though he was black with bees. So for the next 2 weeks he was quoting Horace, how a wolf won't bite so virtuous a man, and after he'd coaxed and smoked the bees into a new hive, he sat out on the front porch with his shoes off and drank 3 highballs down, 1 for the bees, and 1 for the dead departed soul of President Heber Grant, and 1 to the health of the dauntless warrior, general, principals. This all happened just when the Russians were blasting Berlin, and for a long time that livid cluster hung in my mind, the black and burned and crawling death's head of my youth's old Europe. For years I tried to conceal from the villagers that I wrote poetry. I didn't want them to know that I was an oddball. I didn't want the young men with beards wearing baseball caps who come to the liquor store in their pickups to buy 6-packs to know that I was some kind of sissy. I decided it was prudent to buy the Daily News instead of the Times at the drugstore. I burned my poem drafts at home before I took the trash to the dump. Kids scavenge around there, and the old man who does the recycling is nosy. I took every precaution. But our town is not an easy place to keep secrets. Everybody knows everybody, and they gossip when they're getting their mail at the post office. Things began to come apart. A young man with long hair and a city accent showed up and asked in the stores where the poet Laughlin lived. Then a pipe burst, and the plumber told people that he saw thousands of books stacked in the cellar, some of them in foreign languages. Next day the head of the volunteer fire department came, pretending to check the wiring. I began to get a bit paranoid. The town trooper is supposed to check each rural road once a week, but he came up our road past our house 3 days in succession. The axe fell when somehow a reporter for the county paper heard the rumors, and there was a little item: local poet caught speeding twice on 272. Motor vehicles may suspend license. Much has changed in my life now. Nobody has laughed at me in the street. I'm over 6 feet, weight 245, and look pretty fit for my age. But they look at me in a funny way. I don't go to Apple House, our grocery store, any more, because a little girl with her finger in her nose pointed me out to the checkout lady and asked her something. Now I get my liquor and supplies in the next towns, and order honey-baked hams from Virginia by mail. My life is all different now that they know I write poems. But if they think they can shame me out of it, they're very much mistaken. I'm not breaking any law. I'll go on with it unless they have me declared a public nuisance, and have me sent to the Institute. I've heard there is a poor fellow in the Institute who claims he is Henry Wordsworth Longfellow. He'll understand and be my friend. We can recite to each other, if they won't let us have paper and pencils. Life kept rolling her over, like a piece of driftwood, in the surf of an angry sea. She was intelligent and beautiful, and well off. She made friends easily, yet she wasn't able to put pieces together into any recognizable shape. She wasn't sure who she wanted to be, so she ended up being no one in particular. She made herself almost invisible. She was the person you loved so much who really wasn't there at all. The poem. The rain is moving by itself. It pelts. It proceeds of its own accord. And on the roof, in the writer of the poem, it makes thousands of little words where it will lead which him. Confuse the child. He cannot control. He does not understand because it has such a language. What is the rain trying to tell him? What if it carries Should him he be afraid from his safe life? From is there a message of danger to be escaped harm from the poem? Or can he be lulled by the sound of the rain aside and go back to sleep?